Hey, you guys. Okay, this is day one for me. I wanted to start a podcast, but I wanted it to be a video. I have talked to several people and I've watched a lot of videos, and finally, and I really didn't want to invest a ton of money into it until I was comfortable that I was doing it the right way and buying the right things. So I got a microphone and a webcam and some headphones, and we're diving in. And we're going to make some mistakes and probably have like 5,000 bloopers, but you know what? That's okay. So here I am. This is day one for me in my video podcast, and I'm going to try really hard to do at least once a week. And I want to tell you the purpose of it. So, I am a licensed professional counselor. I also have a license in Florida as well, and they're called LMHCs there. I am residing in Louisiana. I also have several certifications, which I'm going to talk about as this video goes on, because this is just going to be an introduction to me. And so, my entire purpose of having a podcast is just to extend out information just a little further out. That's all. Just get a little more help out there for people that maybe don't have the resources to be able to get to therapy, whether it's telephonically or in a video, or be able to go in office. I just want to try to really extend information about mental health as far as I possibly can. So, with that being said, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I am a very transparent person. I don't believe in hiding certain things. If you ask me a question, most likely I'm going to tell you the answer to it as long as it's appropriate and within the boundaries of our relationship. I do utilize lots of things that I've been through in life, if they're appropriate in the dynamic in which I am in the office environment. So if it's something I've been through personally before, or I've known somebody, I utilize that information because I really do believe that it makes me more relatable. Y'all, something you will very quickly realize about me is that, you know what, I'm just going to be me. And to be very honest with you, my hair was looking a little rough there, a little crazy with these headphones. This is going to be a learning curve. See, I'm going backwards here, so here's another introduction to me. I'm just going to do it as it comes. I'm going to be exactly who I am. And who I am right now is a little bit of a hair hot mess. I guess I'm just going to have to embrace that. I'll embrace it, you'll embrace it. We'll be all right. All right, so anyway, a little bit about me. So I have a master's. I went to Florida State for my undergraduate. I was in psychology and criminology as my minor. I went home. I worked for child protection for I think about 4 years. In my early 20s, I saw a lot of awful things in child protection. It was a very hard job. Everybody who still does that, I really admire you. It was a very, very difficult job. The people I worked with were absolutely insane and amazing, and I loved them. I loved going to court to testify for these kids, trying to get them as much help as possible, and it was a true passion, and it really solidified that I wanted to do more. I wanted to help more families, whether it was through reuniting them or whether it was through advocating for these kids to be in a safer environment or for their parents to get additional help. I wanted to help, and I knew that. So I knew going back to school was non negotiable. So I went back to school. I got my master's degree. I worked the whole time that I was in there and started a family. And in that time period, there were so many crazy things going on in my life, in addition to going through school, which is something I'll probably touch on in different podcasts. But I absolutely will not be hiding any of those rough patches because some of them were very public, and I'll talk more about that later. But also, I do realize that something it's important to be transparent because everybody Googles and you can find stuff, and I want to be the person to be able to share my own story rather than somebody else or a newspaper clipping or something of that nature. So, With that being said, I went back to grad school and I became a therapist and worked in the community setting for a pretty long time, really focusing in on trauma. Everything was trauma, mostly with kiddos, some with families, but mostly with kiddos, 18 and under. And got some certifications for trauma work, learned a ton in that capacity, and then realized that, you know what, I need more. And so I continued my certifications. I actually got a second job, and to this day, I have two jobs. So I have really embraced the idea that I love animals and I love helping families, kids. I love helping people who can't help themselves sometimes. I got a certification in um, animal assisted human health. I have a on-site therapy dog. I have a second dog. That's them in cartoon form. So the brown one is, her name is Sadie, and she is certified. She's been working with me for many years, and my clients love her. And Rue is her sister, and she's supposed to retire Sadie because Sadie is getting pretty old, and we don't want to stress her out. And it's a stressful job, and people don't know a lot about that. That'll be in an episode talking about helping people with animals and all the things we didn't know and all the things that I learned in my very extensive training that took many hours and school courses and things like that. I'm also a registered play therapist, was another angle and another certification that took many years, a lot of hard work in order to do. I have some trauma certifications. Let's see what else. I have a mental health forensics evaluator certification, which I'll, of course, like I'll talk about all these things in separate little podcasts throughout this journey, but that's it. So, I probably have other ones that I'm not thinking of. Those are the ones that I really utilize right now. My practice is really focused on families. I see I see mostly teenagers. I have a splash of little kids, but I have a lot of teenagers, and I have a lot of women and some splashes of men too. So I really see a variety of ages, and I use all kinds of techniques because I really, really strongly believe that our healing journeys are holistic and it's individualized, and not the same thing's going to help the same person. I am very creative in what I do inside my room with my private practice, and if something's not working for one thing, it's all right. We will try something else. I will do all kinds of research. We will figure it out. We'll work together to do that. So, those are other things that are about me. Let's see. I was a product of a divorced family, and it was a very complicated divorce and distance. My mom moved us away, and so traveling between states and missing our family and that detachment, things of that nature. So, I really understand that dynamic. I had some pretty hefty trauma in my 20s, domestic violence, um, being exposed to an addict, and all of that brought, all the stress that brought that on, some pretty complicated trauma in that. Went through my own therapy, my own healing. I have three children, and there was a moment where we buried the oldest two's father. So going through grief and being in another relationship where we have a blended family, how we landed on our feet, how we navigated through, all those things are things that I have personally been through, and I promise every ounce of it has made me a better therapist. And that's why I feel like it's important to be transparent with people, because we're more relatable. And when we're more relatable and that relationship is there, people trust and listen and implement and learn and grow and heal. It's a journey. It's a journey. I definitely do things that are probably a little unconventional. I never feel like I ever have borderline being unethical. because everything is from a very true place in my heart where I just want people to heal and be happy. I'm goofy. I do crazy things off the cuff. I don't, of course, I would like things to always be perfect, but I'm not perfect. I'm never going to be perfect. I'm going to acknowledge that and own it. And I feel like that's just another example of being like, oh, okay. Like, it's okay. It's okay to be broken for a second and put our pieces back together. So that's another dynamic. Um, I'm trying to think of like other things that I tell people about me. My purpose is to always just be happy. I really, and the simplicity and the complexity of that statement, to be happy. And I feel like people have lost sight of what truly being happy is. And we overcomplicate things in the world that we live in today with the exposure to social media and just the exposure to things in general. And people get really caught up in that. And so I truly want to work really hard to push out as much positive energy as possible and techniques and strategies to be able to heal. And, mental health is such a crazy thing to try to explain to people that really don't believe in it. But then there's always an angle, right? Perception in my practice is a word that I use so frequently. And I love utilizing perceptions. I love challenging myself and other people. And it's hard. Don't get it twisted. Like, it's so hard to put yourself in somebody else's shoes when you've got like this thing in your head where you're like, oh my God, no, but it has to be this way. It can't be that way. Or, like parents and teenagers and trying to align. Like, I have a teenager, and he's so different than the first kid, and I'm sure my third kid will be different than my second kid, and trying to navigate through that, and then trying to navigate with your partner, right? Because their opinion is just as important as your opinion, and uh, how you balance that and how you are a united front. There's so many things that I am so excited to talk about and going forward with this podcast and my journey. I love like writing things down. So I'm going to share this with you guys. So I have this beautiful friend who is my neighbor, and she made me this beautiful it's like a notebook cover. I guess it could be a really book cover. And she wrote me a beautiful note inside, something I'll always cherish. But I'm using this because I like to write things down. So when I started the idea of wanting to do a podcast, I started thinking like, do I have enough things to talk about? Like, is it going to just kind of evolve as I'm shifting, like me by myself? Of course, like sometimes the goal is definitely to have other people on and have their opinions and let you guys kind of see how we work through things and communicate and hear things from a different perspective, like a true honest perspective that maybe you wouldn't gotten to hear before. But so I started writing things down, and I'm gonna just tell you guys some of the things that I really feel strongly about, and I want to bring to this podcast or this blog or vlog or whatever it is, whatever it evolves to be. I hope it helps. If it helps one person, honestly, like, score, we're solid. So if you guys ever have any questions, like, drop them in the comments. This is all new to me. It might take me a hot second to like kind of get a grasp on it. I think my work email is somewhere in my profile on YouTube, and that's where I'm going to be posting these things. So I definitely am going to talk about my journey with becoming a therapist that has a dog, what they do. People get so confused about like what they actually do in session, and then they come and they fall in love with her, and then when she doesn't come, she's not at work tonight. um, that's another thing I have to be mindful of, which I'll talk about specifically. But I'm very mindful of the people I see each night and how having a dog in the room would affect them, or how some of my clients affect the dogs. And I'm very mindful of all of that. And I never bring the dogs in if you're like brand new. We talk about it way before I ever bring any of the dogs in. Okay, and so I'm going to talk about my journey with that. I'm definitely going to talk about trauma experiences and maybe some like little quick techniques to use or things that we struggle with in therapy as a therapist, as a a client or a patient, and everybody calls them something different. You're just a person. Like I like to, I know, like to say, everybody just has a different reason for coming in and the relationship. I see my clients sometimes more than I see my family members, not the ones that live at my house, but, just other family members. And so lines can get blurry sometimes for people that are with you very often. But I do truly, um, from the bottom of my heart, care about all my clients. I really care about people in general and really just want people to be as happy as possible. That's 100% genuine for me. Okay, so this is my list. Like I was getting excited, y'all, and I really wanted to dig in and I'm gonna just give you the list. So if you got other ideas, also go ahead and drop them in the comments and let me know, and I will absolutely talk about it. And if I don't know anything about it, I'll learn something about it, or I'll get somebody that knows something about it, and we can talk about it. So one of the topics I wanted to talk about was happiness. Like, what is happiness? And maybe we'll go back to that. I'm gonna try to keep these around like 30 minutes because I don't want them to be so excessively long that you're unable to finish the video. So maybe if like you're driving to work or you're driving to school, your kids to drop off to school, and you want to listen to something kind of get you started in your day, or you're struggling with something on lunch break, you can pop it in and just listen to it or view it or whatnot. So we're gonna try to keep these around 30 minutes. I'm a bit of a tangent person. Like something will just go off in my head at that very second, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna finish this, and then I'm gonna go there, and then I'm gonna circle back around. So I do that a lot. Please be patient with me. If it irritates you, I'm very sorry, but that is who I am. It's what it is. I make crazy faces, which you're gonna see. Another thing, just who I am. So, happiness is something I was thinking about. Um, are you really taking care of yourself? Like, really, truly, honestly, if you dig in and think about that, like, are you really taking care of yourself? So, that's something. And that's not just physically, that's mentally too. So, that is like a huge topic because that really can go off into so many different directions. Okay, expectations of self and others. What happens when you set a bar for another person? And when I say a bar, like that expectation, like I want you to do this, and then they fail, and now you're mad. That's such, that can go in 100 different ways too. So we're going to talk about that. Parenting out of trauma or childhood experiences. That is a huge one. I've definitely done that. Spoiling your children because you didn't have, or being extremely fearful and not letting your children do anything because of experiences that you've had, or things you see in the world that are happening and being so fearful something will happen so you won't let your kids do anything. What's the balance? So like where do you go with that? That's definitely one of my topics. um what does being present mean? Like, I say that really often. Actually, every morning I wake up, and when I'm speaking to myself in the morning, that's one of the things that I ask for assistance with is like being present. So easy to get wrapped up in the day and forget to be in the day because we're not promised tomorrow. That's true. And I think some of us that have buried people at very young ages, um, regardless of the circumstances, that statement is even more true. It really like widens that for you, that view for you. Marriage. Oh, marriage is such a good topic. Such a good topic. Giving up quickly. So marriages like giving up quickly these days, like the divorce rate being so high. Why are they so hard? And so easy to let go of. Like, why is it hard? Why is it so easy to let go of at this day and age? Why is it different? That's going to be a topic for sure. Negative thoughts, gratitude, genetics versus environment. nature versus nurture, that topic, that's a big one. What happens after big disappointments? So, like, what you go through, like big breakups, loss of job, loss of friends. Like, what do we do for ourselves? How do we manage? Are we robots and we're just getting through the day? Do we jump into another relationship? That's going to be a topic. The many roles that we have, juggling all the different roles. So I very jokingly say, like, I don't get paid enough. Like, I'm a chauffeur, I'm a cook, I'm a cleaner. I work two like jobs that give me paid checks. My kids' therapist. Sometimes I'm friends therapist. Um, the I'm a pool person sometimes. The list goes on, right? So we all have different roles. And how do you look at them? Do you look at them as a burden, or are you grateful that you're able to do these things? So many people aren't, right? So again, perception, like your perception of yourself and like what you're doing. Um, Parenting. Do as I say, not as I do. Oh, I can't wait to have that podcast. Do as I say, not as I do. Parenting. Being integrative. We'll talk about that. I'm sure that's like, what? What you mean by that? But we'll get there. Keeping quiet keeps the peace. Whose peace are we trying to keep? That's a topic. Not everyone is supposed to be with us forever, and that's okay, despite who they are to you. That's going to be a solid one. Be your child's parent or be your child's friend. This I'm going to say a little bit more about because this is something I see so often. And this is my piece of advice right here, right now, and I will talk about it in a bigger podcast as well. But I have never met a regretful, strict parent, strict within reason, and we'll talk about that. But I have met many regretful friend parents. Sit on that. We're going to come back to it. The importance of having both parents or caregivers involved if possible. That's going to be huge. And I'm going to speak to that in different ways, just from a personal perspective, a professional perspective as well. And then as a forensics mental health evaluator perspective, you're going to get 3 hats from me on that one. Humor, how important it is, asking people questions, gatekeeping, attachment, ACEs. ACEs is an acronym, we'll talk about it. Doing hard things. Why will you do more for others than you'll do for yourself? The poor me mentality. What is the gain? Oh, this is one I literally ask constantly. The delivery of a message, how critical that is. When you pray for rain, you got to deal with the mud too. That's a big one. Is it okay to say sorry to your kids? What does it show? We're going to talk about that one. Don't just let your kids quit. What does that mean? Love someone and still say goodbye. You miss someone and still be glad they are no longer in your life. You can miss someone and still be glad they're no longer in your life. Teach positive self-talk. I gotta be mindful of the time here, so that's why you keep seeing me scroll in front of me and check my clock because, I have clients. This is between sessions. Okay. Oh yeah, I just said that. Teach positive self-talk. You will see me screw up my words. I'm owning that. We ain't editing anything out, okay? We're crazy, we're silly, we're gonna blooper. Maybe at some point, if I do so well that this just really becomes to a point where somebody else can edit it out. But on my clock, I'm a therapist. I make mistakes. I'm a person. I make mistakes. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Makes me a human, right? Makes me a human. Social media and parenting. It's okay to say you cannot have that. Call me crazy. We're going to talk about it. Uses broken people to rescue broken people. Uses broken people. Man, my notes, y'all. This is like I'm being legit here. This is me, and things just pop into my head, and then I just write them down. Sometimes I got to think about what I meant. Being transparent, relatable, encouragement, work-life balance. How toxic or unhappy people affect us and infect a group of people. Like we'll talk about that. Sacrifice. Oh, we're going to do a whole podcast about sacrifice, what that means, and all the capacities, how that bleeds out into our families. Do not fight for someone who doesn't see you. It takes a village, a community, but what if you don't have a reliable village or community? So many people don't. Creative playlist. Oh, we're going to talk about that one, and I love it. I love it. You're fine. You're going to be fine. You're fine. You're going to be fine. If it hasn't already worked itself out, it's in the process of working itself out. Just saying. Fear of making change. Fear of being stuck. This is something I use often too. If nothing changes, then nothing changes. Think about it. If nothing changes, then nothing changes. Seeing a therapist in public. Oh my gosh. How do you feel about that? I mean, I'm fine with it. We're gonna talk about that too. You know what? That might just be my catchphrase. It's like evolving in this video. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it. Attachment styles. Oh, that's a good one. That's a real good one. Mood board, goal board, vision board. I love those. Live a life I don't need a vacation from. Live a life I don't need a vacation from. Self-care. What is self-care for everybody? It's different. Not everybody enjoys a facial. Some people don't like to be touched, so guess what? They're not going to enjoy that massage. They're just not. Some people don't like working out. It makes them physically nauseous just thinking about it or looking at a gym. Now, there might be a reason for that because I'm always inclined to ask, like, why? What happened? Let's dig a little deeper. There's always a root cause to everything. Like, don't take everything at face value. I like to dig in. Okay, these are my self-cares. Okay, here we go. Fitness, nutrition, walks, reading, music, chiropractor. That might sound funny to you. The chiropractor's a treat for me. I'm so wicked busy all the time, and I do quite enjoy to go get adjusted. I'm not even gonna lie to you. So he's like a treat. So he's definitely self-care because I should do it more. A massage, face mask, nails, a treat. That can be whatever you want. I really like candy. It's really not good for me, but I really like it. I have a jar of Jolly Ranchers next to my chair that I sit in, and I eat one before each session. Yeah. Little nugget for you. Quiet time. I am not somebody that ever sits still, and I do not usually have quiet time. But I will tell you, there are things that will slow me down and give me great patience. And I've discovered those, and I hang on to them. So we'll talk about that. Visiting friends, journaling, you know, putting a pen to a piece of paper or a pencil. I enjoy pencils. That's why you can barely see my handwriting because it's actually in pencil. Um, there's some power to that. I know that we are just so used to having our phones and typing, but there is something so powerful about writing. It's relieving, it's a release. Something else to think about. Okay, so those are my ideas right now for this journey that we're going to start on. And I am so excited about it. I really am. I want everybody to be included. Please email me. Please put comments in the section of something you want me to talk about. And you know what? And I'll be very honest. I know that going into a setting where everybody in God's green earth can watch these videos, that sometimes you get negative feedback. I'm just not going to play into that. I just won't even respond. So, you guys see negative comments, I may not even delete them. To be very honest with you, I know that people have opinions. Uh, I don't really care. Could people be like, "Oh, you got wrinkles on your forehead"? I know they there. It's okay. Do your roots need to be done? It's true. I couldn't get into the hairdresser. Not yet. Chasing my kids around. So much more important to me. Um, there's probably, oh, could your background look different? It could. Could you have more makeup on? Probably. What's wrong with your necklaces? I don't know. Like, I don't know. Just here to be me. And like I said, if I can help one person, then this worked. And then this is working. All right, you guys, we gonna talk about it. Stay tuned for this adventure.